So the Tab S7 Plus versus the Tab S8. This comparison is honestly kind of fairly simple, but there's a couple of reasons why some people might be comparing these two. First reason is you already have a Tab S7 Plus and you're kind of thinking of downgrading in a way, or just want to get a new tablet, a new series from the Tab S8, but you're thinking, could I get by with a Tab S8? Or you're planning to get a whole new tablet, you don't have a tablet right now and you're planning to get one. And last time I checked, according to Amazon, you can get the Tab S7 Plus for just about $700 and the Tab S8 for around the same price at around $700. So they're both about the same price, brand new. So which one should you get? So let's talk about it. So as far as hardware and design, honestly, both of them are pretty much the exact same design. From the Tab S7 Plus series to the Tab S8 series, there wasn't much of a jump in difference when it came to that. The only difference really was just obviously the size difference. And then the sides, the Tab S8 has a little bit of a different finish compared to the Tab S7 Plus. The Tab S7 Plus over time got a lot of dents, got a lot of scratches, and it's just looks all used up. So over time, I'm not sure if the Tab S8 series with the new finish, if it's gonna last a little longer as far as durability, but both of them feel pretty premium in the hand and look premium as well. And they're also about the same weight. They don't feel much heavier over the other. So even though the Tab S8 is a bit smaller, it feels about the same weight, and it's really well evenly distributed throughout the tablet itself. So regardless of how you're holding each tablet, whether it be horizontally or vertically, both of them feel about the same and feel for the most part comfortable in the hand. And they both have USB-C at the bottom, and they both also have quad firing speakers. Honestly, both of them are very loud and impressive, so they sound pretty good. They're probably not going to be as good as like a speaker, but they sound pretty good. But the Tab S7 Plus does sound ever so slightly louder. It's not by much, but both of them still sound really good in my opinion. And you both have the power button and volume rocker on the same side. Only difference here is one, the design. It's a little bit of a different design now. On the Tab S7 Plus, it's a little bit thinner. Tab S8 is now a little bit thicker and more rounded, squared off. And it also has the built-in fingerprint sensor in the power button. The Tab S7 Plus has it under the display with an optical fingerprint sensor. Both of them are pretty good and pretty reliable. I find that it just depends on your finger placement. If you misplace your finger, you're gonna find that it misses sometimes. So both of them are about the same reliance, but it does make sense where they place them. So on the Tab S8, it is a little bit smaller tablet, so it's actually easier to reach that power button with either hand, whether you have it docked or you have it in your hand, versus the Tab S7 Plus, your one hand or your right hand here is always on this side of the display. So your finger always happens to land where that fingerprint sensor is at. So it makes sense where both of them are at. And they also both have facial recognition, which for the most part work about the same. So might not be the most secure, but they both are reliable and pretty quick for the most part. So as far as my metrics, that's what you have. And both of them have a micro SD card slot, so you can expand the storage if you want to, up to I believe like a terabyte. So if you need more storage for files, photos, whatever, you can do so easily on both. On the bottom, you both have the option to connect a first-party Samsung keyboard. So the only difference there will be the size of the keyboard. Obviously, with the Tab S8, it's going to be a slightly smaller keyboard. Tab S7 Plus will be a slightly bigger keyboard. But there's two that I know of. There's the slim one, which is basically a one-piece keyboard cover. So it provides the keyboard, but no trackpad. And it also allows you to prop up your tablet, but only at one angle. And then you can slot your S Pen inside of the book cover and keep it protected, but it's not going to charge your S Pen. So if you want to use gestures, you have to keep it on the outside, which keeps it exposed and means you might accidentally knock it. I don't use gestures, so for me, it's perfectly fine. There's also like the regular standard book cover keyboard, which basically is two pieces. The back cover keeps your S Pen protected and the back protected. Oh, by the way, both of them cannot be magnetic on the back, but it keeps the S Pen protected and the back protected. And then you have a detachable keyboard that you can just attach whenever you want to use it, and then be able to use it like almost like a laptop type style if you want to. So it does have a trackpad if you want to use a trackpad. And that back cover also allows you to prop it up at pretty much any angle versus the slim one that just props up at one angle. So they're both kind of pricey in my opinion. I've talked about them a lot before. And in my opinion, I don't know, for these tablets personally, I see both of these as a tablet first. This one has a little bit more potential and I feel more comfortable potentially using it as like a laptop, but I probably won't be. This one I'm definitely just sticking with it as a tablet. So I would probably just get a regular protective case for this and not even bother with book cover keyboards, honestly. But with this, you could potentially get a book cover keyboard. So it's up to you to decide that, but that's what the connectors are for if you want to use them. And then both of them also come with S Pens, which I believe are pretty much the exact same S Pen, but they also have a spot in the back. They look exactly the same. It's a glossy little spot for you to magnetically attach your S Pen so that you can charge it if you want to use gestures and stuff like that. So as far as displays, there is a bit of a difference here. So obviously the Tab S8 Plus is a smaller display at 11 inches versus a 12.4 inch display on the Tab S7 Plus. But the Tab S8 also uses an LCD display versus the AMOLED display on the Tab S7 Plus. Both of them are though 1440p and 120 Hz. Now the Tab S8 is a TFT display, which means it is able to use the variable refresh rate instead of just being static at 120 Hz, which comes into play possibly in like battery life later on. I want to talk about that. But otherwise, that's the only differences, which to some people might be a bit of a drastic difference. So I do notice a bit of quality difference when it comes to like colors and stuff like that on both of these devices. So on the AMOLED display of the Tab S7 Plus, blacks look black, they look deep black, the colors pop and are rich, versus the Tab S8, they don't look bad, but you do notice that the blacks aren't as black, colors don't pop as much, but it's not a bad viewing experience. This is definitely a really good display as well for doing just things on the internet or definitely browsing content and stuff like that. But if you're going to be doing a lot of content watching, then the Tab S7 Plus would be a better tablet for that, only because of the bigger screen size, because of the AMOLED display. And then I will say also, the only time that I ever noticed that the LCD display was like just an LCD display was when I went into the blue light filter. So when you turn on Eye Comfort Shield, that blue light filter was very jarring. So the blacks obviously can't turn off because it's not an AMOLED display. So the blacks just turn into like a gray, and then those grays remove the blue light, and so then it just looks completely awful in my opinion. On here, when it goes into dark mode and stuff like that, and the blue light filter is turned on, obviously the blacks pixels would just turn off because it's an AMOLED display, so it doesn't look as bad. So that's the only thing I noticed when it comes to an LCD versus an AMOLED display. Obviously there's some other subtle differences, but that's the biggest jarring difference I saw. I also want to mention that the Tab S7 Plus also suffers with the green tint issue. So since it came out, it's had this issue where if you go into a low light environment, so if you're in a dark room, your brightness is set down all the way to the bottom and you go into dark mode, you're going to notice some ever so slightly, the screen turns ever so slightly green. It's not bad, and it doesn't get in the way at all. It doesn't ruin the experience, but it's just small things that, I noticed. So there's some pros and cons to each display, but honestly, both of them are pretty good. But just think about whether or not you're going to be doing a lot of content watching. If that's the case, then the Tab S7 Plus might be the way to go. So when it comes to like just performance overall, both of them are going to be really good performing tablets in my opinion, especially if you're just going to be a light user and just watching content. You're not going to notice a difference in either of these. But if you decide to do a lot heavier stuff or just using your tablet consistently and switching between apps, that Tab S8 is going to be a little bit of more consistent performer in the long-term use just because it has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and 8 GB of RAM versus the Tab S7 Plus that has a Snapdragon 865 Plus and it has 6 GB of RAM. So you're getting a bit of an upgrade when it comes to just, I guess, raw performance and processor chip here and RAM, but it's not that big of a difference, honestly. It's only when you're doing heavy tasks or when you're using your tablet for a long time and you decide to switch apps and stuff like that. That's when you notice the Tab S7 Plus has a bit of more of a hiccups every now and then compared to the Tab S8. The Tab S8 is not prone to that, but it's less likely to happen on the Tab S8. And as far as software support, both of them are actually currently running Android 12 with One UI 4.1. So all the features that you're going to get on the Tab S8, the new features, you'll find on the Tab S7 Plus right now. So the only thing that I didn't find was that the Google Discover was not on the Tab S7 Plus, but everything else was on there. So the new color palette is there for the wallpapers, the new smart widgets are here, pretty much everything, the way it looks pretty much exactly the same. But the only thing you gotta think about is the longevity. So the Tab S7 Plus, this came out back in 2020, and they only promised 3 years when this came out of software support. So this was only good till 2023 to the end of the year. So you got about a year and a half left of software support or major software support on the Tab S7 Plus. On the Tab S8, this is good till 2026. So yeah, the software support is a lot longer on the Tab S8. And it's not to say that once you stop getting those softwares that you're going to get a bad tablet now. It just means you're not going to get the newest software features. It's still going to perform great. Apps will still be updated and apps themselves will still be fine. But it's just if you want those latest software features, then you're going to want to go with like the Tab S8 at minimum to get those 4 years and longevity of software support. So as far as everyday usage, as I already mentioned, performance will be kind of the same for the most part, but everyday usage is a little bit different just because of the screen size. Ever so slightly. So starting with note taking here, if you're going to be note taking on the go, like you're going to be using your tablet handheld with your hand at all times, then you're gonna like the smaller form factor of the Tab S8. It's much easier to hold in your hand. It still provides a great note-taking experience because of Samsung Notes and the S Pen. The latency, honestly, I don't know if there's much of a difference here. I don't even know what it is on the Tab S8, but it feels responsive and it feels good. So it doesn't feel bad at all. I like it. It's very easy to handle. Even if you're going to be taking this to school and stuff like that, just being able to hold it in your hand and take notes, or even be at a table and you can take notes is nice. But if you're going to always be at a table, then I would probably stick with like the Tab S7 Plus. So not only is it a bigger screen, but I do know, I think it might be a better latency. Honestly, it doesn't even matter because there's not much of a difference. I know it's 9 milliseconds. Don't know if that's improved on the Tab S8 or if it's worse on the Tab S8, but both of them are pretty responsive. So if you're always going to be at a desk or at a table or something, just the extra screen real estate is nicer on the Tab S7 Plus. But if you're always on the go, then the Tab S8 is the way to go. As far as multitasking, both of them can honestly do it. So I don't really multitask on either of these that much. The only multitasking I'll ever do is opening up my 2 Notes apps. So I'll have Keep Notes and Samsung Notes open next to each other, just so I can take notes while I'm working. Keep Notes is just for quick, short, like sticky note type of notes. And then the Tab S7 Plus, same idea. If I wanted to, I could do that as well. Or you can open up, a browser and YouTube and then use it like a little laptop. Or you can go into DeX mode and do that as well. So you can get like a Chromebook / Windows-like experience and just have a bunch of windows open if you want to. Both of them can handle it, in my opinion. Now, is this something I'm going to be doing? If not, then the smaller screen will be better for that just because you're not going to be doing multitasking. But if you are, then the Tab S7 Plus is the way to go. But like I said, both of them can definitely handle it. It's just up to you to decide whether or not you're going to be doing that, and if you are, deciding which screen would be better for that for you. And both of these are great for just using one app at a time. Now, of course, it depends on what app you're using, but if it's like media consumption, the Tab S7 Plus is the way to go. But if it's like pretty much anything else, games, social media, browsing the internet, I honestly kind of like the Tab S8, but you got to think about where you're going to be doing this. So if you're going to be docked, Tab S7 Plus is the way to go, because you're going to be docked. Doesn't matter how heavy it is, doesn't matter how big it is. Actually, it does matter how big it is, because if it's docked, you just want the bigger screen. But if you're going to be using it handheld, trust me, the Tab S8 is much nicer and more comfortable to hold in your hand, especially if you add a case and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot more comfortable. So if I'm playing games and stuff like that, getting across, reaching the controls on the display itself is much easier on the Tab S8. Even with my big hands, like the Tab S7 Plus is a little bit big sometimes to play handheld. So if you're going to be playing games, dock it up, connect the controller, play streaming games and stuff like that. So that's the way to do it on the Tab S7 Plus. But if you're going to be handheld and on the go a lot, then the Tab S8 is the way to go. So that's how I'm going to look at it as everyday usage. If you're always going to be docked, then the size probably doesn't matter that much, and you might want to go for that bigger size. But if you're going to be handheld a lot, then you're going to want to go for the Tab S8. So that's pretty much it for performance and everyday usage. Performance, like I already mentioned, about the same, but a little bit better on the Tab S8. And everyday usage, if you're on the go, Tab S8. If you're not on the go, Tab S7 Plus. Now, as far as cameras, I say this every time, but trust me, I don't really use my cameras that much, but these are going to be mediocre cameras. They're not going to be anything crazy. They're simple and they're basic. So starting with the front, you're going to get a decent shooter on both of them, but I will say the Tab S8 is ever so slightly improved. So it's a little bit wider and a little bit more detailed and colorful. It's able to bring out a little bit more detail in the dark areas of the photos, so which is nice. And my skin color looks a little bit more accurate than it does on the Tab S7 Plus. I just look super white and washed out in those pictures. And also in video, on the Tab S8, you can actually cap out at a max of 4K up to 30 FPS. On the Tab S7 Plus, you can only do 1080p. So if for some reason you need to record video on your front-facing camera, you can do so with higher quality on the Tab S8. And also, it's a bit wider, similar to the photos. So that means an auto frame, of course, you have to do this in 1080p, but an auto frame, it gives you a bigger frame, essentially, so that you can move around more easily, versus the Tab S7 Plus. It's a little bit smaller. You can do auto frame, but you don't have as much freedom to move to different areas and, in your room or whatever you're doing for the camera to shoot you. There's a similar story in the back as well. So the only major difference that I really saw is that the Tab S8 was able to bring out a little bit more detail in the dark areas of a photo. So the dark shadows and stuff like that was able to bring out a little bit more color and detail with the Tab S7 Plus, but not much of a difference. And same thing with like video. Both of them cap out a 4K 30, but you can only do that on the wide. If you want to do on the ultra wide, record video on the ultra wide, you have to use 1080p 30. So nothing impressive there, nothing crazy. You get the basics, like I said. But I really only use these cameras to like scan documents if I need to, but otherwise I'm barely using those cameras. But they're decent, they're not bad, but they're also not anything amazing. So as far as battery life, Tab S7 Plus has a 10,090 mAh battery versus the 8,000 on the Tab S8. So when it comes to daily usage though, it was a little bit different, and I also will say that I don't have the graphs to show that the Tab S7 Plus battery is not that great compared to the Tab S8 because I haven't been using it as my daily tablet for a while. But when I first got it, I'll tell you, it was okay. It wasn't that amazing, but it wasn't also terrible. So I was able to get it for like a day's use, and then after a while, it was starting to go down in like battery levels or battery health, and I was only able to get about a half a day's use. But I was using this pretty intensely. So for my everyday usage, I was using it for writing notes for school. I was watching content, watching YouTube, Netflix, whatever. I was using this as for my everything tablet. So I was able to get like 6 to sometimes 8 hours of screen on time. Tab S8 over here, I don't use it as intensely as I have been or I did with the Tab S7 Plus. I just use this for note taking and the occasional browsing and videos and sometimes games. So I'm able to get roughly 2 days use of battery on here, so with like 6 to 8 hours of screen on time, which is amazing. I have never seen a device get that much battery life, but I'm sure over time it'll probably go down. But just the fact that right now I'm getting 2 days, is crazy. So again, that goes to show that everyone's usage will be different and affect how long the battery lasts. But if you have to charge them, you're going to get about the same charging speeds kind of. So both of them can take 45 watts of charging of max speed, but the Tab S8 charges up in like an hour and 20 minutes because of the smaller battery, and then the Tab S7 Plus charges up in about an hour and 45 minutes. So only about a 20 to 25 minute difference. Not that big of a difference, but just something to keep in mind there. And also, you can protect both batteries if you want to, which I definitely recommend if you plan on keeping these tablets for a long time. Okay, so which one should you get? So it really depends on your usage. So whether you're thinking of getting either of these as your new tablet or you're thinking of switching from the Tab S7 Plus to the Tab S8, think about what you're going to be doing. So if you need something portable, powerful, it's going to last you for years, then the Tab S8 is the way to go. If you just want a really good media consumption display, then the Tab S7 Plus isn't a bad choice to either keep it or get this one. But honestly, in that case, I'd maybe consider getting a Tab S8 Plus because of that longevity when it comes to software. So that's been it. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and peace.